Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. Now, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but comics are having kind of a moment right now. The stories and characters are infusing themselves into our pop culture. Comics have opened themselves up to a wider audience by exploring new perspectives and new genres, and comics have never been more accessible. So whether you're already reading and collecting or you're just curious, there's never been a better time to jump into comics. And I'm going to help by sharing some of my tips with you. I'm Mark, and this is Comic Book Revival. So just before we get started, a little disclaimer. I don't know everything about comics. I am by no means an expert. I'm just somebody who loves comics, and I've learned a few things along the way. My goal is to help other people by sharing my experiences. It's always nice to have a comic book friend who can help guide you and help you not repeat their mistakes. Somebody that I wish I had when I started collecting. So if that's what you're looking for, I got you. And I'm just going to say right off the bat that not everything I say will necessarily work for you, but that's okay, because as you're about to learn, comic book collecting is a very personal and unique experience for everyone. And finally, I just want to say that I'm just going to stick to the basics today. I want to keep this fairly light and short and not bog things down too much with overload of information. But if you have any questions or topics that you want me to cover in more detail, please drop them in the comments below. All right, with that being said, here we go. So I suppose the most obvious question would be, how do I start? Where do I start? Personally, my advice is to just zero in on what you already like, for a couple of reasons. First of all, you already like that character. For me, it was Spider-Man. I was obsessed with Spider-Man before I even knew what comic books were. When I was a kid, I used to watch that old animated show from the 60s or early 70s, and I was completely obsessed with Spider-Man before, I think I was 5 years old when I started watching it. And that just set me off on that trajectory towards comics. And he was my guy. He was my go-to character, and still is to this day. I still consider Spider-Man my favorite comic character to this day. So zero in on that one character that you like, whether it's Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman. The reason being is you already know their origin, you already know their power set, you already know the supporting characters in their lives. So as you begin reading their stories, it's going to feel familiar to you. From there, you can expand out to other characters and find other characters that you like. Another thing that's kind of fun is to find the writers and the artists that you like and follow their work. Because once you get locked onto a particular writing style or an artist, you want to continue to follow their work. And in the off chance that superhero fatigue starts to set in, no worries. There are so many other genres to pick from. In fact, I encourage exploring other publishers and other genres because there is so much more out there than just superheroes. If you like horror, fantasy, crime, adventure, if you can think it, there's probably a comic out there for that genre. Okay, let's talk about formats because there's lots of different ways to read comics. There are single issues, trade paperbacks, omnibuses, graphic novels. So what are they? What's the difference? Well, single issues are the most traditional way to read comics. That's the format that most people think of when they think comics. And when I was a kid growing up, that was our only option. We had to buy single issues if we wanted to read comics. A trade paperback is a collected edition, and it contains several individual issues to make up a complete story. Omnibuses take that concept a little bit further because it's much bigger. So there's usually years worth, sometimes even decades worth, of individual comics in an omnibus. Graphic novels are almost always standalone stories. They're usually not serialized as individual issues, and they usually follow the same type of story structure as a novel. Another option, and probably the most cost-effective, is to read digitally. Digital comics are offered on a subscription platform. Marvel and DC both have their own, and there's others out there. Depending on where you live, their availability might differ a little bit. The cool thing about digital comics is you have a library of literally thousands of issues right at your fingertips, right on your phone or your tablet, and you can have access to them all for a pretty manageable monthly fee. Speaking of cost effectiveness, I have to mention something nobody wants to hear, but it has to be said. Budget. You have to set a spending limit and do your best to stick to it. There's lots of ways to stretch your comic book budget. You can hit up the dollar bins at your local comic book shop. Check out yard sales or flea markets for deals. And don't forget to check out your local library because nothing's cheaper than free. Chances are they have trade paperbacks, graphic novels, maybe even omnibuses that you can check out, and read, see what you don't like, without spending any money. I'm planning on doing an entire video on collecting on a budget, so if that interests you, hit the subscribe button, Hulk smash the bell right now so you don't miss it. Go ahead and do it now. I'll wait. Good? Okay, awesome. Community is everything in comics. Let's face it, not everybody is going to support your enthusiasm for comics. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, they might pretend to care, but having the right people to support you is gold. You can offer each other support, advice, recommendations. You can celebrate each other's collecting milestones. And it's always nice to have somebody to sell and buy from. And finding other collectors fosters a sense of belonging and shared enthusiasm. So how do you find other comic book people? I would start with the staff at your local comic book shop. They're knowledgeable, friendly, and chances are they're collectors too, so they love comics just as much as you do. If you're able to attend comic conventions in your area, go online, check out Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're comic book friends now, by the way. I just wanted to let you know. One thing I will say about the online community is just try to steer clear of the negativity. The thing is, with social media and YouTube, the algorithm tends to reward engagement. And let's face it, negativity always receives more attention than positivity, right? So I think you know where I'm going with this. Engagement creates activity, activity creates likes and clicks, and so on and so forth. So I just steer clear of that stuff. There are more than enough people online who are positive, who support the hobby, who support others in the comic community, and just want to be there for others and help. And one last thing I just want to say is that everyone's collection is unique. So buy and collect what you love. Fear of missing out is very real in comics. And believe me, I know from personal experience how crazy things can get when there's a hot book on the market. Case in point, Spider-Boy. If you just said, who? That's exactly my point. This guy right here. Hang on a sec. So this comic came out a little more than a year ago, and it was the next big thing. It was the don't sleep on this one. You got to have this in your collection. The first appearance of Spider-Boy. I bought the variant with him on the cover as well. So this is the first cover appearance and the first appearance of Spider-Boy. I pre-ordered it, graded in a 9.8, thinking that this was going to be something huge. And today this is probably worth about $35. So the spec books look good on paper and it's exciting to chase them, but at the end of the day, they rarely live up to their promise of being the next big thing. So build your collection around what you love, be patient, enjoy the process, and don't worry about what everybody else is buying or reading. You do you. If you want a little more insight into comics, I highly recommend this book. It's called Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, and it goes a lot deeper into some of the stuff that we touched on today. It's a fun read, it's a light read, and it's definitely worth checking out if you can get your hands on it. You can find it on Amazon and possibly your local library. And that's all I have for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I want this channel to be as interactive as possible, so please leave a comment below, ask me a question, tell me what you're reading, tell me what you're into, and let's engage. And don't forget to share and like and subscribe and do all the things. As a new channel, it really will go a long way in helping me out. And if you'd like a better look at my collection, or if you want to get to know me a little bit better, you can follow me over on Instagram at Old Man Young. That's Old Man Young, all one word, with a 0, not an O. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.